Disney's new Star Wars show Skeleton Crew is over halfway through its first season, and so far reception from the fans who have been watching the show has been overwhelmingly positive. Although the show doesn't have any major connections to the larger Star Wars canon, the majority of fans have found this show a refreshing taste of originality from Disney Star Wars. However, this has been both a blessing and a curse for Skeleton Crew. While the originality appeals to some fans, a lot of people are still hesitant to watch Skeleton Crew because it lacks many of the staples of classic Star Wars, like lightsabers, Jedi, the Empire, etc. Plus, a lot of people might not even realise this is a Star Wars show because of these very reasons. So in this video, I'm going to answer the questions: how does Skeleton Crew fit into the Star Wars timeline? And how does this show connect to the larger story of Star Wars? Star Wars Skeleton Crew is the latest installment in what many fans call the Mandoverse. This is a time period within the Star Wars timeline that refers to the events following Episode 6 Return of the Jedi, and includes most of the Disney Plus shows, like The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. This means that Skeleton Crew takes place somewhere between 5 to 10 years in canon following the victory of the rebellion over the Empire and the rise of the New Republic that we first saw all the way back in 1983 with Return of the Jedi. We know this because at the start of Skeleton Crew Episode 1, we see a title crawl that gives us some context for the story. It says that since the Empire have fallen, pirates have taken advantage of the changing government by increasing their criminal activity in the Outer Rim. And we also see this in The Mandalorian, especially in Season 1, where we see how the galaxy has changed since the downfall of the Empire. And in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, as well as in the Ahsoka series, we get to see a lot of how the New Republic functions and struggles to unite the galaxy after the Galactic Civil War. So Skeleton Crew takes place somewhere between Return of the Jedi and Episode 7 The Force Awakens, probably about 5 to 10 years following the downfall of the Empire. However, as of yet, we haven't seen any major connections to the larger Star Wars canon from Skeleton Crew, and this leaves a bit of ambiguity as to exactly where this takes place in the timeline. Now, The Mandalorian started as a small-scale, self-contained story, but eventually grew with each season to incorporate elements of the larger canon. But Skeleton Crew has so far remained separate from the other shows, and has done so in a very unique and original way. Without spoiling too much about the series itself, the central characters and the central setting of the series seem to have been isolated from the rest of the galaxy for at least several centuries, since the time of the Old Republic. But given what The Mandalorian showrunners Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau said several years ago about the Mandoverse, then it's likely that Skeleton Crew will eventually tie into the time period in some way before the series is over, feeding into the collective storyline that the Mandalorian shows are supposedly building towards. This could mean that by the end of the first season, our characters could discover what has been happening in the rest of the galaxy, and perhaps even encounter one of the primary characters of the Mandoverse time period, which will then connect them and their journey to the larger story of The Mandalorian. So, who knows, we might be seeing someone from The Mandalorian soon. Now, recently I made a video in which I outlined what I believe to be the best viewing order to watch the Mandalorian shows in. And in that video I said that I think all the different Mandoverse shows would work much better if they were just one show rather than separate interlinked shows. That said, I'm enjoying Skeleton Crew for what it is, and I think it works perfectly as its own self-contained series. But since I get very invested when it comes to a story's continuity, and since you're watching this video to learn where Skeleton Crew fits into the Star Wars timeline, then I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to update and refine that viewing order I made from my last video. Now, officially, the order of the Mandoverse story is supposed to follow the order of release. So the Mandoverse starts with The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, and then The Book of Boba Fett, followed by The Mandalorian Season 3, then Ahsoka, and now Skeleton Crew. But based on what we've seen from the show so far, I think it would actually work much better to watch Skeleton Crew first. Now, like I said, I like to imagine all these shows as just one story, and I would love if Lucasfilm just made one series or at least one playlist on Disney Plus to watch them all in, rather than lots of different ones. So, in my own headcanon viewing order, the Mandoverse is divided into phases, just like the structure of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which the showrunners admitted they were trying to follow. With the first phase including the first 2 seasons of Mando and now Skeleton Crew, and the second including Ahsoka, The Book of Boba Fett, and The Mandalorian Season 3. That means Phase 3 will likely include the Mandalorian and Grogu movie releasing in 2026, and potentially Ahsoka Season 2, and who knows, maybe one day we'll see more of Boba Fett too. Now, when I was devising this viewing order, I liked how Phase 2 started with the opening title crawl from Ahsoka Episode 1. It really helps sort of distinguish this phase of the Mandoverse from the previous. And that's also why I think Skeleton Crew would work much better if it were watched before The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, as Skeleton Crew also opens with a title crawl that sort of establishes the context of what's happening in the galaxy following the downfall of the Empire. Another reason is that Return of the Jedi ends on a very high and hopeful note, and Skeleton Crew is obviously a show made primarily for children and families, which continues that light-hearted feel of the original trilogy. So I think by watching Skeleton Crew before The Mandalorian, which has somewhat of a darker and grittier tone to it, then you are continuing that charm of the original trilogy and also establishing the state of this new time period before you get too deep into the story of The Mandalorian, the Imperial Remnant, the Return of Thrawn, etc. So if you're watching Skeleton Crew but you're not quite sure where the story fits into the timeline, or if you're hesitant to watch it because you're not sure how it relates to the rest of the Star Wars canon, then I hope this video was of some help to you. As for where the story of the Mandoverse is heading, I have a video coming out very soon on that, and my theory for the future of Star Wars. For now though, I hope this video helped clarify some of the questions and confusion that I've been seeing from some fans online. And if you haven't yet checked out Skeleton Crew and you have an active Disney Plus subscription, then I would definitely recommend it, especially if you have family or children you can watch it with. It's certainly not the most profound thing ever from Star Wars, but it's original and fun, and it's just a breath of fresh air given the quality of a lot of Disney's recent Star Wars projects. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm trying to grow my channel this year. I've got quite a few videos planned, and I would really love it if you could click like and subscribe, because I've got some pretty cool things planned, especially for the later half of this year. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.